Welcome to this very special interview with a very special person. Billionaire, entrepreneur, innovator, philanthropist, Manoj Bhargava is making the news, but making it for all the right reasons. And I'm going to tell you why he is a newsmaker at the moment. He's joining me now. Manoj, appreciate your joining us.
Nice.
And for the last few days, I've been absolutely stunned by these big advertisements coming, saying free electricity is coming. You're the man who's going to bring free electricity?
Well,
Are you
let's hope
serious?
so. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Tell us more. Tell me, what is this big innovation that you're going to bring, which is perhaps going to change the way we look at the entire energy sector?
That's true. Well, the simple of it is this, is that what we don't realize that even if we put wires to villages, nobody can afford to pay the electricity. So you had to make something that would not only have no electric bills, anybody could repair, and be efficient. And so the bottom 600-700 million people that are not getting electricity either at all or only 2-3 hours a day, this is going to be changing their whole way. Even those who are making, let's say, some wages, and they pay a bunch in electric bills, they're going to say, well, I can just make my own. And we do it without pollution.
And you do it without pollution at all. So, I mean, you're cutting off all those gas turbines and those big power plants.
That's right.
Because you've got something simple that you're going to show us now.
Right.
What is that simple thing that you're going to show us now?
Well, this will be the first time we've shown it in the public. It's been under wraps. And in India, as I wanted to show first in India before anywhere else in the world, the new electric bike.
The new electric bike. Show it to us.
Okay, so what we've done is turned it into such a simple thing, which is, as you can see, bicycle part, bicycle part, bicycle part. Almost everything is a bicycle part, except for maybe two things, which is the alternator and the battery. Mm-hmm. And it's become so simple that if something breaks, you can go to your local bicycle guy, and he can fix it. And so this will last a family pretty much forever. Unlike, let's say, solar panels, which you put on the roof, but you don't take into account, hail, kids throwing rocks, monkeys, all the things that happen.
Let me get this straight.
Right.
And I saw this in the film that you made.
Right.
You're going to go on this bike, you're going to pedal the bike, and you're telling me that this alone can possibly be the big solution to India's or the world's energy crisis.
Well, let's put it this way. It's for the bottom half of the world. It's not going to run industries or rich people's homes.
It could help that guy, though, at the bottom of the pile in a small village in Bihar or UP who hasn't had power. He could find and discover in this bike the solution to his energy problem.
Right.
Is that?
That's true. And not only that, I think hundreds of thousands of businesses will start because of this. There are people who make small things in villages and small towns. I mean, in fact, I read somewhere that in Banaras they make the silk saris, but they need electricity to get that going in their houses. Sure. Now, they have electricity 3 hours a day. That thing runs 3 hours a day. With this, it'll run as long as you like.
Go ahead. Okay. Let's see the magic bike.
Right. Oh, okay. So what's going to happen is when I pedal this, back here we made a showcase to see how much electricity it is producing. So we have 24 lights, a fan, a tablet, and it could have also charged a cell phone. All of it at the same time. That's how much electricity it produces. Let me just show you how quickly it does it.
This is the old Indian magic trick, but you've got it. It's working. It's working.
It's that simple.
It's that simple. Now, is that the strength of this? The simplicity of it all? Because, watching that film, the simplicity struck me.
Right.
And you've got this material graphene, which seems to change the way we're going to look at industry. We're going to look at the power sector.
Right. Well, that's a different area entirely, but that is going to change the way all electricity everywhere. But that's still in work in process. But this thing,
is
the bottom half of the world will have electricity forever and never get an electric bill. Now, in the beginning, it does cost. So the intention is to get it out there in a way that we can get it out massive, right? So it'll probably end up somewhere between 12 and 15,000 rupees. And then we will look to the really bottom to see, I will subsidize a bunch of it to see, if we can get it to everyone. It'll take a few years, but we'll get it to everyone.
But this obsession with innovation is what I see. You're constantly looking to do something which will change the rules of the game. Whether it's with affordable energy, clean and affordable water, or clean or affordable healthcare. I mean, it's all coming down to your passion for innovation.
Right.
You seem to believe that's the real driver, in a sense of real change in the truest sense of the word. Billions in change is effectively about that, change on a mass scale.
That's right. We started several years ago and looked at can we actually affect the whole world? It was an insane idea at first. And I think if I announced it then, they would have locked me up. But we looked at it and said, what are the basic things that affect everything else? Okay. So if you have, for example, if you have electricity, right? Imagine 100,000 schools in India don't have electricity. How do you have a school without electricity? I mean, if you had electricity, all of a sudden you're internet enabled. You can have first-class education everywhere. So it affects education. It affects how we get information to everyone. It affects how we make factories, small factories. In other words, let's say there's a shop out in the middle of nowhere, right? And then they burn diesel and 2 light bulbs, right? This way, they can do this without any pollution, without any costs to them. And, I think this will create hundreds of thousands of jobs, maybe millions.
And that's been the sort of driver, the ability to sort of scale up. Is that what is your that's what drives Manoj Bhargava?
Well, I think what drives me is if I'm not affecting the bottom half of the world, what am I doing? I'm just giving more convenience and entertainment to rich people? There's no value there. In terms of just making things for rich people has no purpose to it.
So that's an interesting way of putting it, just making things for rich people, because one of your quotes is that, what will I do with 90% of my wealth going to my son who may, not use it the way he should, and better just give it to society. So is that really what giving back is? The whole notion of giving back 90% of your wealth?
Well, I don't really look at it as giving back, because in a way, I didn't take it from somebody and I'm giving back to them. My view is it's my duty. If I have more than I can use, if I have, in this case, ridiculous amounts more than I can possibly use, and nothing that I do now will affect my lifestyle. I mean, we'll still be comfortable. That's not going to happen. But what else can you do that makes you get up in the morning and say, I'm going to do something worthwhile? Well, if you get up in the morning and all you're making things for entertaining rich people, I would have a hard time getting up in the morning. So for me, this is just duty. And as far as my son goes, it is 99% of my wealth, but he was actually happy. He says, I'm going to do it on my own.
That's interesting. You've got the bicycle, which hopefully, as you say, will provide the critical factor, which is free electricity. You've got a rainmaker, as I saw in the film, which hopefully will provide clean and affordable water.
Right.
And you've got a healthcare system that you're bringing in, which is going to resolve all my blood pressure problems. I mean, you're looking for simple solutions to major problems. The rainmaker is again going to change the world. Right. If you can provide clean and affordable water in a place which is drought prone,
right,
I mean, change the rules of the game again.
Is
that what it is? A healthcare again. I mean, in a country like India, these are going to be critically bijli,
absolutely,
pani,
right,
and swasth or health.
There's nothing else. Everything else is just above that. In other words, if you have electricity, you make a living. If you have clean water, your wages go up because your farm is working. So goal is, or the way to live for me is, can I do something incredible? Can I do something that serves humanity? Because there's a thrill there that I can't get with toys. Toys are not, I am too old for toys.
So what was the first day when when you first saw this and suddenly the light bulb started clicking? Was it back to good old Archimedes saying, Eureka, I've done it?
I wish it was that simple. It wasn't that simple.
How long did it take?
It took a couple of years from the idea. My first thought had been I saw this, I was watching this race car. We sponsor a race car in America. So this fella took a car jack, which is a big car jack. And he put it under the car, and he went like this with a handle. And the car almost flipped over. It was so much energy, so much power. So I went to my guys, and I said, look, if one guy with one hand can flip a car, why can't we turn that into electricity? So that's where we started. And so then we thought, we'll pump. That my idea was first is like the water pump, this way.
That's right.
And we tried that. It was a total disaster. It did not work at all. We had run into all kinds of problems. And then we made it, and it became really complicated. And then we said, I said, no. If you make it complicated, nobody can fix it. It'll be like another solar panel. And so I said, we make it simpler and simpler and simpler till we had almost nothing left. And then we knew where to make it better and better. And there are a few tricks. And then all of a sudden, when we first came up with the idea of turning it into, and I said, I want to make bicycle parts so I can also produce it. Because if you make it, in the first one, in the film, you show a big wheel, right? That wheel would be really difficult to produce. So I said, I want to turn it into bicycle parts. Now, you can get bicycle parts anywhere. And so we created this thing, and when I first saw it, everybody in the shop, all of our guys that make it, are so excited because everybody recognizes the amazing change it's going to make throughout the world.
I'm just wondering then, is it a classic case of Indian jugaad marrying itself to high American innovation? I mean, this is, you've got a terrific team of innovators, right. And you've got your perhaps instinctive jugaad, which you might have learned when you were here. I mean, it's the perfect marriage. This bicycle is the perfect marriage of it.
You're right. I never thought of it that way, but it is jugaad. It's bicycle, battery, this, put them together, all of a sudden you're making electricity. So you're right to some extent, that's true. My approach to everything has been, how can I make it simpler? How can I make it simpler? Same with the device for medical. Everybody knows, whether it's Chinese medicine, Indian medicine, Western medicine, that blood flow is the basis for 70-80% of health. And yet nobody was working on it. And so we did.
And so you're going to have this special kind of chair which you can sort of sit on, which will improve blood flow, and the rainmaker again, which is again based on the same philosophy of trying to make it simple to try and get water up to people so that they can have clean and affordable water.
Right.
It's fantastic.
Right.
It truly is. It could be a real game changer. Right. The man who's going to change all our lives, hopefully. What is the story of Manoj Bhargava? Why did you drop out of college and then become this, this incredible entrepreneur?
Well, I got into this fancy school. It's called Princeton University, right? And then after a year, I realized that the aim was that, okay, I'll get a degree, and then I'll get a good job, and it's not something I cared about, to make more money. And so I looked for something. I think when you're young, you'll say, is that all there is? You're just going to have another job, live in the suburbs, and that's it? And so I thought, what else is there? Is there something more worthwhile than that? So I left Princeton and said, okay, I'm going to find something more worthwhile, because for me it was, I'll wash dishes, I don't care. I'll work for that kind of living is fine. And so I spent a lot of years in a different kind of education. And then I came back and I thought, okay, we still serve humanity. Okay, how do I do that? And so we started a business, and then I would still give money to different charities and so on. And then after became somewhat successful, then I thought, oh my God, I've got this massive amount of wealth, what is it that I can do that's useful? So we started giving it away to a lot of different charities.
And what I find interesting is right through this period where you go abroad, you remain incredibly rooted to the idea of India. I mean, the Indianness in you seems to flow right through to the point where you've decided to even unveil this bicycle in India. How important is that? That yes, you've made your money in the US, you've had this incredible energy drink success, but at the end of the day, Dil hai Hindustani.
That's that old song. Juta hai Japani, phir bhi dil hai Hindustani.
Right, you've got to do a lot for a country like India, but the other part which interested me, and this is a quote that I read of yours, is that you don't seem to believe too much in degrees. I get a sense that you believe that the real degree is life. It's not about a university. Is that been your philosophy? That the real degree that you earn is the degree that you earn in the journey of life?
There's no doubt. You only learn through experience. You don't really learn as much in school. What happens is you learn to take tests, you learn to memorize, you learn to do some studies and all. But when you get out in the world, you realize, oh my God, this is completely different, right? And so I'm not against school so much as I am against that you come out of school thinking you actually know something. That's silly. Because experience is the only thing. You know something and then you have experience. And experience teaches you more than anything else. And if you think just fancy degrees is going to do it, well, that's nonsense.
Was there a turning point in your life? Something that turned it all for you? All of us sort of hope that there is this turning point in our lives. What was the moment which turned it all for you as an entrepreneur?
I don't think it was at the time of being an entrepreneur. It was sort of time in first year of college where I said, no, I'm not doing what's fashionable. In other words, the young tend to follow whatever's fashionable at that time. Right now it's fashionable to make high-tech businesses and be in Silicon Valley. That's the fashion of the day. When I was growing up in the US, early 70s, the fashion was just drop out and do nothing. So people tend to just do fashion. And I looked at it and I said, no, I'm not a fashionable guy, as you can tell. Not very fashionable at all. So I thought, is there something more sensible? Is there something of value? Is there something that's more than that? And so that's where the turning point was in college.
I'm often wondering, do you have a favorite in all these innovations that you're making? There's the bicycle, there's the rainmaker, right. There's your healthcare chair that you're putting up. Is there a favorite that you have out of all of these, the ones that you are particularly are you sort of attached in a sense to the innovations that your team makes? Do you get sort of emotionally attached to them?
Well, I'm attached to it only as far as it serves, right? Now, in terms of cool factor, which, I've said in there I'm not cool, but some of our stuff, this is the coolest of them because it's so simple. I like simple above all things. And so it's so simple. And in 5 seconds, everything lights up. How amazing is that?
I must ask you, how much is this going to cost? Let's say an average Indian decides to invest in this bicycle because he's just drawn by the idea of free electricity. Someone, as we discussed, in a far-flung village of a Bihar or a UP, how much will they have to actually initially spend on this?
I think it's going to end up somewhere between 12 and 15,000 rupees.
12 and 15,000 rupees, which hopefully will guarantee them then free electricity for life.
For life. And they will never get an electric bill from anyone. You won't have to wait for the sun. You won't have to wait for paying your bill and somebody cuts you off or anything. It's there forever and it's yours.
And you're going to have all these electricity boards and all these big guys of the power plants perhaps saying, Manoj Bhargava is taking business away from us.
Actually, I don't think so. Here's the reason. I think what it is the big utilities really don't want to serve that end of the population. That's why they get electricity 2 hours a day, right? Because they're supposed to subsidize these fellas. And then what happens, you go to the village, first of all, they're subsidizing, and then second, somebody puts a wire and steals it. So I'm an electric utility. I'm thinking, why am I doing this? I'm only doing it because the government's making me do it. With this, they're going to say, great. we can just concentrate on where we make money, which is industry.
I have to ask you this, that you made your money in a way, your billions in a way, with your great energy drink, which again was a game changer in a tough competitive market.
Right.
Then you go into innovation. How do you multitask? How do you sort of manage that, all these various businesses that you seem to have? Where does that come from? And how do you do it?
I have no idea. It must be the luck of the draw. Because what I've told you so far is probably a third of what we're actually doing. There's a whole bunch more coming, which I'll talk about those things next year when we have them ready to go. Some other major innovations that will change healthcare as we know it, perhaps even farming as we know it. There's some really big things we're working on. But how it works, I don't really know. I go from business to business. It's like turning a switch. And I'm not thinking about the last one.
But where's the energy coming from? Where's the energy coming from? I mean, I see you in the film one moment in your at your plant in the U.S., then in an offshore venture in Singapore.
Right.
You're all over the place. I mean, what is it? Where do you get the energy from? 25 hours a day?
No, two things. Really, one thing is if you love what you do. I wrote something once, and I said, if you love what you do, you're on vacation 50 weeks a year. Everybody else only gets 2 weeks, right? So if you love what you do, you have the energy to do it. If you hate what you do, you're always tired, right? I mean, that's just nature.
I'm going to then ask you, there are lots of young entrepreneurs who will be watching this. The Prime Minister has spoken about Startup India. If you had a tip, a mantra to give all these young people out there who perhaps are bursting with ideas but just don't know how to execute it, what would you say is your mantra to them?
First of all, I'd say don't use all the hype that you hear, whether it's in the media or it's in books or whether it's in stories. Go with common sense. There's only two things you need to succeed. Well, three things. One is common sense. Second, a sense of urgency. In other words, do it now. Don't wait. And the third, unfortunately, is experience. But if you have the first two, you may fall. And I've fallen so many times. I bet I've fallen more than almost certainly 99% of the people out there. But you get up and you do it again. If you don't have that, then just get a job. Because you will fall.
You will fall only to get up again and ride the bike. I'm going to do something at the end, Manoj, and you're going to have to help me. I haven't done this for a long time. I'm going to try and actually ride this bike and see if I can create power. That's my final act.
Perfect.
Let's try and see if we can do it. Come on,
All
Manoj.
right.
You're going to make me become fit all over again.
Slowly.
Slowly?
First, get in slowly.
Okay. Here I am. And I'm going to do this as simply as I possibly can. I'm going to pedal. Should I lie back?
Yes. Yeah, that makes it easier.
Is it lighting up, guys? Manoj, is it lighting up?
Let's get some. There you go.
Okay, there I've got it. I've done it. I am the energy maker.
Right.
You've done it, mate. Great work. This is what is going to hopefully change the world. Right. And hopefully, Manoj, you've given back to this country more than you've possibly, if at all, taken away from it. So you might change the way this country looks at energy.
Well, that's the plan.
That's the plan, and it's a plan that we're going to try and execute in the next few months.
Right.
How soon is this going to come?
I think we'll be in production by March.
So 3 months from now?
Well, it's 4 months.
4 months from now, you could have a new way of looking at energy. From the wonderful world of Manoj Bhargava, Rajdeep Sardesai for India Today TV, cycling his way into real power for once.